Diana, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As a kind reminder, tonight's event is being recorded. The recording will be available for playback on the NBC Palm Springs digital network through the election date. Audience video will be turned off and the audio muted during this event will help to protect the integrity of the digital stream. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. As a service to our community, the La Quinta Chamber of Commerce, in partnership with the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce, is proud to host tonight's La Quinta City Council Candidate Forum. My name is Diana Soto. I am the Vice President, Director of Public Policy of the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I will be the MC for tonight. The candidate speaking in order for tonight's event was determined by alphabetical order of last name, as all our candidate forums will be done this year. We have allotted each candidate 3 minutes to make an opening remark. Candidates, when it's your turn, please state your name, followed by your 3-minute introductory statement. We also have Rebecca Rizzo with signs showing how much time is left, so please keep an eye out for her frame on your screen. Please respect the time limits. In addition to the time restrictions, we have kindly asked the candidates to refrain from disparaging or engaging with their fellow candidates. A reminder that this is a forum and not a debate. Please limit your discussions to your individual plans and perspectives on the city of La Quinta. Let's begin with our first candidate. Again, you have 3 minutes. We would like to first welcome Mayor Linda Evans. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Diana. And thank you to the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce and the La Quinta Chamber Board of Directors for providing this forum for a candidate forum to get to know the people that are currently serving the city of La Quinta and those desiring to serve. We commend anybody who steps up to the plate that wants to give back to their community, because that's what La Quinta is all about. I would normally make an opening statement providing some of the background and reason for my reelection, and you'll hear about that during my questions. But I also want to just take a moment to say thank you to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department for their unbelievably immediate response in addressing an active shooter that was on the campus of City Hall this afternoon, that was confronted by one of our employees who safely entered our City Hall building and locked the doors, which they are normally locked anyway, alerted police, and spread the word of an active shooter. Within moments, police were there on site and captured the suspect. I'm thankful for the quick response. I'm thankful that none of our community members nor our staff were injured in any way, shape, or form. And when we think about how divisive right now the community, the nation, the country is over police reform, police defunding, I want to tell you that the money that we are spending on our police force to ensure safety of our community and the low crime rate and the capturing of suspects like this is commendable, and it's worth every penny. And our staff was shaken up because they serve our residents. We serve our residents. And for an emotional afternoon like this, it's just, I'm grateful, I'm thankful. I love our city of La Quinta. And I'm just so pleased at the camaraderie that occurred, the teamwork that occurred, and also just the compassion that our employees showed each other in this time of really unsure activity and gunshots happening outside of our city hall. So I apologize to those residents who may be in a traffic jam because of some investigation that's going on. You will hear more on the news. But again, Linda Evans, so proud to have served you as mayor since 2014, as well as council since 2009. We have so much that we've accomplished in the last couple of years when I was reelected, and we have more to do. And not only our response to COVID and economic recovery, but also the work that we're doing on our roads, in our parks, and our trails, Silver Rock and the Pendry and the Montage hotels, and just the roundabouts, our improvements, our aesthetics, our services overall. I just want to say that I'm thrilled to be able to talk about the excitement that we have done for our residents and our businesses, especially how we've helped those food insecure folks, how we've provided loans, and what's in store for the next few years in the city of La Quinta, because we are strong. We are strong because of the team effort of our staff, of our commissioners, our volunteers, the endless number of members that just help our community throughout. I'm blessed to be part of this organization, this part of this La Quinta family, and thank you so much. I'm honored to serve you.
Thank you, Mayor, for that. We too are very grateful that everyone is okay and for their quick response. We're happy to hear that. Thank you for that update. We would now like to hear from Council Member Kathleen Fitzpatrick. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I just want to reiterate everything that Linda said. It was kind of an emotional afternoon, but we have incredible employees. For the employee that was out in the parking lot and came into City Hall and locked the doors and alerted everybody, it's just an amazing occurrence that our La Quinta family is just strong and brave and amazingly resilient on top of everything else. So we're very proud of them, and I'm very proud of them. And I, I'm glad that all of our staff is okay. I'm glad that none of our citizens were hurt. It just was a very trying afternoon, I will say that. And again, I also want to thank the Chamber for going ahead and putting this forum on so that people can get to know us a little bit better. I'm certainly not a politician. I, however, have a long public service career. I worked for the City of Los Angeles for over 33 years. And I bring that experience to the City of La Quinta, and I think that it's one of the benefits that I have as a long-range planner, that when we're looking at moving forward into the next few years and meet the challenges that have been raised by COVID, that our strong leadership team is important. And I think it's important for us to stay together and continue to work hard on making sure that La Quinta stays the gem that it is. We complete our capital improvement program. We continue to support our businesses going forward as we have recently. We continue to support our residents. We continue to supply good housing so that we have places for our workers to live. La Quinta is a fabulous place. My husband and I retired in 2000. Well, I retired in 2005. Ron retired in 2000. We chose La Quinta on purpose, and on purpose we stay here. And being part of this community is just as wonderful as it can be, and I'm very proud to serve on council and honored, and I certainly hope to continue for the next 4 years. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now we are going to hear from candidate Richard Gray. The floor is yours.
There it is.
Yep.
It should be unmuted now. I hope that I'm not going to talk too loud. Thank you very much for the thumbs up.
You're good.
As you've heard, my name is Richard Gray. I've lived in La Quinta now for 10 years. We bought our house about 12 years ago. Once again, on purpose. We were overseas when the final purchase was done, but we had investigated this whole area for a very long time, and this is where we chose to live, and we're very happy that that choice turned out to be a very good one. What happened today, however, is something that we should really take a moment to consider deeply, and that is this business with what might be called soft targets. Schools, City Hall, maybe churches. There's a number of different places that, in coordination with the Sheriff's Department, and maybe by using more of the citizens on patrol, we could have a little bit more visual protection in order to try to dissuade people from coming here and going crazy. That's a terrible thing that happened to people that work at the City Hall, and I trust and believe that probably there will be a number of exercises in order to try to see how best to handle these kind of situations. It shouldn't be happening every day, but when it does happen, normally there's very little, if any, advance notice. My my reason for running is that I would like to see structural changes in the governance of La Quinta. I would like to have consular districts. I think that's extremely important to be able to have certainty that where you live, you know who you can call to have a direct contact with City Hall. At the same time, the person that runs in a specific district will be much more concerned with that district and with negotiating with other council members and the mayor in order to progress evenly and fairly, but taking a lot of time to see what is needed for your particular district. It is, for example, right now there's Adams Street, thank you, 1 minute. Adams Street landscape that's going on. Far as I know, most of the people that live in this area didn't know exactly what was going to be done or when it was going to be done. And it's kind of sad sometimes to see some of these reservoirs with large trees that are cut down. I trust that everything is being done with a lot of care, but there are some issues that perhaps a little closer contact between the citizens, residents. I thought I had 3 minutes, okay. The next thing is term limits. I think it's extremely important. I'm disappointed this year, only 2 people that are not incumbents are running for positions. There should be more competition and there should be more advantage for people to want to be part of the city of La Quinta. Am I running out of time then? I think so. So I'll leave it there. I have a lot more to say, but hopefully the questions will bring more things out. Thank you. Time's up.
Thank you, Candidate Gray. We would now like to welcome Council Member Steve Sanchez.
There we go. Okay. Just as the mayor and Councilmember Fitzpatrick mentioned, you know, we have an amazing law enforcement family here at the city of La Quinta, and you know, it's been a busy day for all of us today, kind of finding out what's happening. And you know, my prayers are with, you know, the staff at City Hall, and I'm glad they were okay. That was one of the first things that popped in my mind, was to make sure that staff at City Hall and any residents that were happy conducting business or visiting City Hall were okay. And for law enforcement, it's never an easy thing to be in a situation like that. And you know, we as a city are here to provide services for our residents. Should they need it, any consultation, any you know, any counseling or anything like that they may experience from the situation, and for our law enforcement also. So it's just, you know, we're at the gem of the desert, but we're also one of the safest cities in the desert, and that's because of the men and women that serve us every day. And I mean, there are only a few people in this world that would run towards a gun, you know, in harm's way, and that's our police department. So thank you to them. You know, we do conduct drills at City Hall between the council and staff on active shooters. And what those drills are, obviously, we won't say what they are, but you know, our employees knew what to do, kept us calm, even in the life of danger. He kept us calm and really could have saved the lives of everybody else in City Hall for his quick reaction. And that's really, you know, the type of employees we have at City Hall are people who you know, think about their fellow employees, their citizens, and everyone else. So thank you to them, and I'm glad everybody's okay. That's really what my, you know, everyone's priority was today, to make sure everybody was okay. And now I'm running. Yeah, you know, I'm running for city council. I'm running for re-election. It's been an honor for me to have served my city for the last 4 years. Public service is something that I've been doing since I was about 16. And I always say, in order to make a difference, you know, whether it's a policy or anything else, you have to be in that position to make that policy change. And I'm fortunate when I came on city 4 years ago, city council, you know, the city was well run, and you know, we had great council members prior to that. And it's been an honor to be able to continue with their leadership and their vision that they had, and continue the city in the right path. So with that, I know we'll have a lot more to say coming up in the questions, but again, I'm Steve Sanchez, and I'm running for my re-election for the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member Steve Sanchez. We do have candidate Robert Silk. I don't see him on the screen, but I wanted to give him the opportunity to voice his presence if he is here before we move on.
He's not in queue, Diana, that we can see.
Okay, I just want to make sure I gave him a fair shot. Okay, we're going to move on. We appreciate all of your opening remarks. We would now like to move into the Q&A portion of today's event. All the questions posed at this forum were supplied by the La Quinta Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors in consultation with the Chamber's Business Legislative Advocacy Committee. The questions were given to all of the candidates in advance. We do this purposefully as our intent is not to perform a knowledge test, but rather to try and determine how each candidate would govern should they be elected. We feel this is best accomplished by allowing them to state exactly where they stand on issues. The speaking order will be progressive, meaning if you answered last to a question, you will answer first to the next question. You will have 2 minutes to address each question. So here we go with question number 1. Let's get right into COVID. This has obviously caused a disruption in tax revenue for all local governments, city and county. If the current emergency measures that have local businesses shuttered down continues into next year, we could start to see a very serious budget disruption in all levels of government. Tell us about some of the steps you would be prepared to take to protect La Quinta's essential government services. What kind of governance should residents expect from you if faced with budget shortfalls? We'll start with candidate Robert Silk. And he's not here. So we will start with Mayor Linda Evans.
Thank you, Diana. La Quinta has faced obviously the same revenue shortfalls that you mentioned, as well as other cities in the community. Just from March to June, we had a $7.5 million shortfall. Really, that has contributed to the loss of tennis and the festivals that normally happen in the spring. So we quickly moved into action thinking, what if we did not have a reopening option for some time, and how do we monitor and manage our expenses while still looking at the reduction of those revenues from hotel tax, sales tax, and property tax, although we've seen an uptick in property tax, which is great. And the reality is like we do every budget season, we look at ways to manage our expenses. We have a very aggressive volunteer group of the Financial Advisory Commission who also helps oversee our Measure G sales dollars and the spend there. And they work together with the City Council and other commissions to make those recommendations on where we can strengthen or reduce expenses. We did experience somewhat of a layoff of a handful of employees and some furloughs. However, that was based on the services that currently are available based on the state's order. So for example, we'll be reopening things like the library and the fitness center. Museum is still being used for daycare for essential workers. So as we progress into these new areas of allowance of opening, we're gonna have to weigh in what is capable in terms of expenses based on the revenues coming in. We have strong revenues, we have strong reserves, and we are confident with our projections and our team here that we'll be able to prevail while still assist people in the community like our businesses. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. Now we will move on to Council Member Kathleen Fitzpatrick.
Hi. As the mayor said, we were very proactive starting back in March. As soon as we recognized that we were going to have serious impacts to our budget, we jumped right in with our Financial Advisory Commission, with our finance department, with every single one of our employees, looking at how we could take measures to cut our budget and down to the bare bones and make sure that we could still provide those services that we feel are absolutely necessary in the city of La Quinta. And I have no doubt that next budget season will be the same. We've been fortunate in saying that, our sales tax revenues did not decrease as much as we thought they were going to. Our TOT revenues not quite as much as we thought they were going to. So we are hopeful that, where we are right now is where we're going to stay, but we will continue to look forward to what we need to do going forward with any kind of budget restrictions that come our way. We're very proactive. And I'd like to say we've also led the region in our response to COVID. We've, gone out of our way to make sure the very first thing we did was make sure a $40,000 donation went to Find Food Bank so that we could assure that anybody who needed food had food. The next things we did were, to shore up our small businesses. It's much easier to keep a business in town than it is to have to recruit another one. And all of our efforts have gone towards making sure that they had the loans and the grants that they needed to keep their doors open and to reopen safely with the kind of equipment that they needed to be able to use. And we anticipate, if we have to do this continuing into next year, we will anticipate doing it going into next year. We have a healthy reserve for economic disaster, and we didn't hesitate to allocate 1.5 million. If we need more, we'll do more.
Diana, you're muted.
Thank you, council member. We will now be hearing from candidate Richard Gray.
I hope I'm audible now. Yes? Okay, thank you. This is a very serious situation, and it's also something that goes hand in glove with the rest of the problems that our commerce faces with online purchases. It's a real difficulty that we have to face somehow, and some of the ways are working together with businesses to see what would make a difference for businesses to be able to attract more foot traffic and more actual sales. As we see Soup Plantation, Steinmart, even the place where the current Starbucks is located across the street from City Hall, is building a new office, and that means that where they are located is going to be empty. It's wonderful news that the food company is moving into part, at least, of Ralph's, but we have to face not only following any and all regulations that the federal government and the state and maybe even the county have for us with COVID, but we have to be looking forward to how we're going to move out of the COVID problem. I'm very pleased to hear some of the things that have been going on, and I think that, like any family, it would be very advantageous for the city to take a real close look at what can be put off a little bit in order to reduce expenditures, and to look what can be done in order to increase income. Lighting and landscaping is one area that should be touched because it hasn't changed in well over 20 some years. Okay, thank you very much. I'll go ahead and give you a couple extra seconds back.
Thank you so much for that, candidate. Now we will be hearing from Council Member Steve Sanchez.
Thank you very much. I'm going to echo pretty much a lot of what the mayor and Councilman Fitzpatrick said, and I want to thank all the candidates for recognizing the work that the city's been doing to help our small businesses here in La Quinta with economic relief. This was an economic disaster from COVID, and it wasn't an economic disaster from the economy. And that was kind of a difference. La Quinta was very strong as far as sales tax, businesses coming to the city. And really, I want to give a big kudos to the council members prior to me who helped create the economic disaster recovery fund ahead of time and keeping it healthy. And then I want to thank this council for over the years contributing to that disaster fund, because I still recall a few years ago thinking, when are we going to use this thing? Like, what does this thing exist for? And you fast forward to now, and it's like, oh, okay, this is what we use it for. And between our Financial Advisory Commission Oversight Committee, looking at our budget, between our staff, the mayor's office, the council, we stepped up pretty quickly to allocate funds that can only be used for economic disaster for our local businesses as a form of rebates, interest-free loans, leniency on signage, on outdoor seating for restaurants, shopping and whatnot. So our council has been very proactive as far as helping small businesses. Is there more that can be done? There's always more that can be done. And we're here to do more if need be. But, rest assured, let our businesses know that this council, we're here to help them in any way that we can. So.
Thank you, Council Member. Okay, now for our next question. Short-term vacation rentals or STVRs, continue to present both unique opportunity for commercial activity as well as a control challenge for local governments. We have seen a variety of approaches to handling them from our 9 cities. Please share your thoughts on how STVR should be handled in La Quinta. Councilmember Steve Sanchez, we'll start with you.
Oh, okay. Am I unmuted? I'm unmuted. All right. STVRs, you know, this is one of those where, you know, you have property rights and individual rights. And I have always been a champion of property rights and individual rights. You can't advocate for property rights when it suits you. It's either you have property rights or you don't. However, having said that, with rights come responsibilities. And STVRs provide a tremendous revenue to the city. It helps fund our police department, helps fund a lot of capital infrastructures that we have, just ongoing operations for the city. And it was a lot more revenue than we projected. The program was a success. COVID put a little wrench in our plan here as far as what's been happening, because more people are home. So more people are home, more people are seeing STVRs, more restrictions. So there's a balance, and what we're working with our STVR ad hoc committee is, you know, getting people from the industry, getting people who are opposed to it or supportive of STVRs, and help us come up with a plan. And there's a fine balance between allowing residents to use their property the way they want to, whether it's for STVRs or not, but also having respect for your neighbor, right? And having enforcement is the key, right? Enforcement to ensure that those problem STVR homes are fined, cited, and or having their licenses revoked. But it is a fine balance between property rights, individual rights, but also property and individual responsibilities. Because in the end, we have to care for our neighborhood and our fellow neighbors at the same time.
Thank you, Councilmember. Now we move with Mayor Linda Evans. You're next. There we go.
Thank you. If you read the Desert Sun article by our city reporter, Sherry Barkas, today, when we all submitted our questions and answers and what was the #1 issue, I had listed short-term vacation rentals largely because of the influx of both positive and negative emails that we've received from our residents. And this is a highly controversial area right now, but La Quinta has been extremely successful in finding that balance because our priority with short-term rentals has been the quality of life for our residents. And what we've learned during this shelter in place kind of COVID shutdown is that people are more bothered by people having fun in their neighborhoods. But there's also the really inconvenience of people having parties all the time, potentially the trash issue, the parking issue. And so we have engaged an ad hoc committee. We did that last year, long before COVID, because we wanted to address the progression that we've done. We've always been very proactive as a city council with our short-term rental program and allowed the opportunity for input from both pro and con residents and renters and owners and management companies to determine what's the best way to find that balance. Because as Councilmember Sanchez said, it's significant revenue to the city. We're a tourism hospitality community. It's $3.5 million of revenue. And if you look at the downstream, if that doesn't exist, does that mean then we have to reduce police services? And if we do reduce police services, does that mean something like today could have had worse outcomes? These are things that we have to then work through and find either new enforcements, density plans, timing issues, limits on permits per se, but we have to go back to how we had a balance between quality of life and the ability for people to come and enjoy the fabulous community that we have in the city of La Quinta. Because what we're seeing is not only with rentals and vacation getaways from the drive market, we're also seeing an enormous uptick in real estate. People are realizing if they have to work at home, or if they're going to have to shelter longer, or if they're going to have to change their lifestyle, it's going to be in a place that is desirable, that's beautiful, that's a sanctuary, that also has vibrance. And that's what La Quinta offers. So we are actively addressing this. I look forward to the recommendations by the ad hoc committee. And I look forward to the council, again, making informed decisions to go forward for the best of everybody's interest. Thank you.
Mayor, thank you for that. Now we move to Councilmember Kathleen Fitzpatrick.
Okay, I think that the council before us was amazingly proactive in getting a program started for short-term vacation rentals. And I don't think anybody realized how successful it would be. And we've been very fortunate to enjoy that success for quite a while. And last year, we really did start to see an uptake in the number of permits and some complaints coming in from parts of town, and took a very active stance in leadership to set up an ad hoc committee of 15 people who represent all walks of life and all walks of short-term vacation rentals, as the mayor said. And what we're really looking for with that group is some recommendations, some things that perhaps we hadn't thought of in how to mitigate the program in our communities, because that's what we need. We have to make sure that our communities have the quality of life, just like we've guaranteed all along. And that quality of life is part and parcel of why we moved to La Quinta, why we live here. So we have to assure that that balance is struck, and we can enforce some mitigation measures, some guidelines that allow the use of our communities as neighborhoods still, while some people go ahead and enjoy renting their homes. We have to work really hard to get some change in guidance on how this program works, so that everybody can enjoy living next to each other again. Believe me, the number of emails we get, we're hearing your problems, we're hearing your pain. And once the recommendations are in from the ad hoc committee, we will be holding study sessions to get our residents back in to talk directly to us. So thank you, and bear with us. We are working as hard as we can with a moratorium in place on new permits. So thank you for being patient with us.
Thank you, Council Member. We will now hear from candidate Richard Gray.
Okay, I hope it's been unmuted. Yes, this is a serious issue. As we know, at least one city is terminating the STVRs over the near future. And people who buy into areas with a R1, R2 zoning are expecting that there's going to be a certain amount of stability and number of people who live in those residents next to them as part of their neighborhood. As we look forward to having more people participating in neighborhood watches, using the ring phones and other situations, because of course, as we come into this season now, we're going to be probably looking at a few more porch pirates, as a lot of deliveries are made for the Christmas season. In the STVRs, I was a part of the Architectural and Landscape Review Board when we approved a development that was right next to the border of Indio, near the Empire Polo Grounds. And they had structured the houses that were going to be built there basically to be party houses, 6 bedrooms and 3 or 4 bathrooms around a swimming pool. There is the element at which this happens, but in general, people do not want to have commerce take place in a residential area. So it's city's obligation to make sure that permits are given freely, neighbors are given an opportunity to make their comment about whether or not they want permits, that code compliance is effective as quickly as possible. And I have 30 seconds, but I think it's an extremely important issue. At the same time, hopefully Silver Rock is going, and other developments will provide more tourist space here. What about people who are renting their pools now for $45 an hour for somebody to come in and swim in the pool? I mean, there's a lot of inventiveness that goes on in this period. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Our next question. There has been much consideration given to what La Quinta's commercial districts will look like in the coming years as the public shopping and transportation patterns continue to evolve. What do you think commercial areas like Highway 111 shopping corridor would need to do to prepare for the future? How can the city play a role in helping these areas stay competitive and relevant? We will start with candidate Richard Gray.
Thank you. I think I'm still on the microphone. Yes, that's a very significant area, and I think that a lot of work has to be done together with the business owners to see what they think can be done to bring in more foot traffic. I have a suggestion that as part of my campaign, is to look at reducing sales tax. Now, this seems to be difficult, but as many people realize, when you reduce the amount of taxes, you're going to increase a certain amount of revenue. And what I would like to see happen is for La Quinta to be more competitive, especially since we have some very large volume sellers from Lowe's, Home Depot, the automobile companies, Costco, Walmart. There's some very large sellers that if they have another advantage, if you pay maybe 1% less on a very expensive set of furniture, it can draw in more people. I think signage is an extremely important thing to be done, and the organization of a number of events in order to draw people into the areas that we have. But we're looking at a really serious problem with Soup Plantation, Stein Mart, just any number of places that are closing down and may close down if this COVID restriction continues for too very long. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can have the time back.
Thank you. Councilmember Steve Sanchez.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, you know, this city over the last, council over the last few years have been conducting community workshops and getting the input from residents. We've hired a consultant. This is actually, I say this regarding the 111 corridor, is something that actually the council is actively working on as we speak, because commerce does change. And being a council member is not just making decisions about what's happening now, it's about having foresight about the future of the city. And that's what we've been looking to. You know, we look at what we can do now, but also what's the city going to look like 10, 15, 20 years from now? And what does the shopping look like? And so, you know, part of that is exactly what's been discussed as far as working with businesses, business owners, and what would they like. Everything as far as, you know, repurposing buildings, reutilizing some of these parking lots that we have, the sea of parking lots, or as Councilmember Fitzpatrick always calls it, you know, repurposing those. And we're seeing some of that right now. I guess if there's anything good that came out of COVID is having us have the ability to, you know, as we say in the Marine Corps, be semper gumby, always flexible. And part of that is allowing our restaurants to utilize those outside spaces. And some of that, you know, we discussed about 111 using that sea of parking lot for outdoor dining or other events. So making 111 more walkable, making it a destination, repurposing buildings, whether it's mixed use later on or just allow different zonings, creating different overlays. These are all the things that we're working on as we speak and implementing as things come along. As you can see, that Renaissance Marriott that's being built, you know, has a design and the entire architect is to help with that 111 corridor vision. So, yeah.
Thank you, Council Member. Next, we will hear from Mayor Linda Evans.
Thank you. Just to continue on to the discussion of Councilmember Sanchez, I'm going to put this up. I don't know if it'll show up here. Yes, it is the Highway 111 corridor plan. So 2 years ago, we engaged a consultant, Urban Land Institute, to look at that 2-mile stretch from Washington to Jefferson Street. That 2-mile stretch of our commercial corridor represents just over 75% of our sales tax revenue. So for us to secure, retain, and repurpose that to ensure that viability in the future is critical, and that's part of our vision. And this connects not only the commercial corridor, standardization of landscaping, of signage, of look, of lane traffic and parking. It also connects the north and south. That includes the bridges that we're doing that enables people to get north and south, like the Dune Palm Bridge that we're under development right now, as well as the CV link. This is an important part of adding signage to the back of the buildings there, The 111 corridor is not just 111. It also then blends into Avenue 48 and beyond. So when we look at how we're investing in our future, we're looking at how we connect that, make it more walkable, make it more of a retail-tainment area. And let's not forget, besides Highway 111, what we've done in the Village and Old Town area. People love coming to Old Town. People love what we've done with alfresco dining in Old Town. And the roundabouts, while people haven't learned how to drive them completely, this is a part of slowing down that community area, getting walkability and connectivity between the Embassy Suites in Old Town, between the Seasons Retirement Affordable Housing and Old Town and all of the Village areas there, and bringing new businesses to life and making new things happen and making art happen. This is all about community, and this is about having grant money to be able to do that. We've budgeted $1 million for the 111 corridor. We've got grants to do all of the roundabouts in the Village and Old Town area, and this is what's making our community more connected, more walkable, more friendly, and it will also then achieve our ability to get from one point to the next as the Silver Rock destination develops, because then we can have that transportation go from shopping to destination. Thank you. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Rebecca. Next, we'll hear from Councilmember Kathleen Fitzpatrick.
Okay, this is where I get really jazzed, and and my peers will tell you that, you know, when Steve talks about me talking about the sea of asphalt, I've been talking about the sea of asphalt for 4 years. I got really excited when the general plan started to look at going forward to 2035. And my husband and I both went to all of the community meetings and participated in that. And that's when I started to really look at Highway 111. And then I got on council and we all started tearing our hair out over the Sam's Club. The Sam's Club been sitting there and nothing was happening. So collectively, we decided that, yes, we need a consultant to come in here and tell us how we can move to the 22nd century, not the 21st century. We got to take this all the way. We need economic growth. We need ways for people to live, work, and play. We need people who want to come here and not just pass through, but stop in an area and stay. We need to connect our areas of the city of La Quinta from north of 111 to south of 111. All of these things are things that we started looking at and got from the general plan through the Urban Land Institute plan to the visioning plan. And now we're moving forward with the next phase, which is our, zoning code revisions, which will be form-based zoning. And form-based zoning are design-driven guidelines in order to be able to develop this land creatively again. And as Linda said, and Steve said, with walkable areas, with great landscape, with great ideas for retail, we're going to have a marriage of business and community on Highway 111 and in the Village area, where we're also going to encourage the same things that will bring new business and keep new business and attract more people to those businesses along Highway 111 and in the Village. It's very exciting. I can't wait. I'm excited to get onto the zoning code section, and they know I'm this way all the time about this subject, so I'm pretty excited about it.
Thank you for that. City councils sometimes find themselves involved in community disagreement over proposed commercial development. Even if a development is proper for zoning, local residents may turn out to object certain types of development in or near their neighborhoods. Tell us your approach to these types of situations. We're going to start with Councilmember Fitzpatrick, please.
Okay, well, I find this exciting too. I find development exciting. It's and design. So we're not strangers to this. We've had developments that came in and ended up not going anywhere because we listened very carefully to our residents, and we listened and talked to the developers, and the developers decided that perhaps that wasn't the best use of that particular piece of land. We currently have a development coming forward now at the corner of 50th and Jefferson, the Pavilions Palm project, and while the neighbors are not against the project per se. They're not excited about having a gas station on that corner. So the Planning Commission has made recommendations to the City Council. We've had several long discussions with the developer during study sessions at Council, and he continues to revise those plans, and hopefully he will come back with a project that we can all live with. That's an important gateway corner to the city of La Quinta. It needs to respect our design standards. It needs to be a really great project. And it needs to respect the fact that even though the neighbors knew when they bought there that the project was coming at some point, it needs to be a project that is compatible with their living community as well. So, we listen. We try and work through staff with the developers to get the best project possible. And I think, we will continue to do that. We continue to listen and continue to have our staff develop guidelines that help a developer move forward with a project that we can all live with and benefit from, because it will bring a benefit to the city of La Quinta, regardless of whether it takes us a year or 18 months to get there or not. We're going to get the best project possible by listening and communicating well.
Great, thank you. Candidate Richard Gray.
Unmuting again. Yes, this is a very important issue, and I think it ties right in with the idea of consular districts. The citizens, the residents of a particular area should feel like they have a direct conduit between themselves and city government in order to make their feelings known. If we remember, the same issue occurred with the Chandy proposal to build a service station, medical center, and so forth. And the residents felt at that time that they had not been properly notified in the beginning, and that their opinions and doubts about that kind of project were not being taken into consideration. This business about the lights at a gas station is one of the very important things, plus the fact that it might be dangerous with people turning across traffic. Be that as it may, we do need to have more development, but right now, I would hope to see a lot more development in the 111 corridor. This could very well be a good project, but I think it's time to make sure that the citizens in the area feel like they have a real part in bringing up what their problems are, and in seeing from the developers and from the city what is coming to them as direct benefits. There are benefits, but at the same time, there are always detractions for some of the people. And the more that we reach out to them, the better it will be. If they had a consular district council member that was specifically for their area, that helps a little bit in order to make a direction and contact. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Council Member Steve Sanchez.
Thank you for that. A couple of things as far as development and community. One of the first questions I always ask when a developer comes before us is, did they do their community outreach? Did they do their due diligence and ask the neighborhoods where they're at? And with respect to the project at Avenue 50, the residents are represented, and they do voice their concerns and their support and their opinions, which is exactly why the council hasn't voted on the project yet, and has kicked the design back to the developer, because the design does need to meet the standards that the residents of La Quinta expect and demand from their city council. There's a fine line between what does the law allow, right? What are you allowed to build? What can you build? What have you been approved to build? And right now, with that particular development, a gas station has a right to be put in there. The council has the right to decide on the design, the location, and things like that. So there is a fine balance. There's some things that are out of the control of the council, like for instance, something like that. But what is in the control is the standards, design, and where things are located within that development. So we shouldn't halt development, and we shouldn't tell a developer when we think a development should happen and shouldn't happen. I think that sets a bad precedent for developers throughout the city who want to invest in our city. Developers know, when it's time to develop, and the city has been very open and helpful. But at the same time, we demand a lot from our developers, and that's why some developments haven't come through, because it hasn't met the standards that we as a council put on them, and that our residents want and need us to put on them as well.
Thank you. Mayor?
Thank you so much, Diana. Yes, let's just add a few things onto the points that are already taken. There is a process in place that allows for proper noticing, proper input, proper decision-making. And while the Pavilions project is the example we've been talking about, that has been zoned to include a grocery store, retail, and a fueling station long before any of us were on city council. And the reality is thank you to the voters of La Quinta back in 2016 who did invest in the city of La Quinta and the quality of life and the value of living here by passing Measure G, which is our sales tax initiative, because that not only addresses an additional 1% to ensure that we can up and maintain the police services, fire, our parks, our trails, all of our city services, but it also then provided that destination tax. So when you look at that transition from shopping in a retail store and online, we're getting 1% of the destination. So even if you're buying outside of the city of La Quinta or you're buying on Amazon, that 1% will still come to the city of La Quinta if that's the end destination. So we take a look at input. The Chandi project at 50th and Washington was not zoned correctly for that area. It was not large enough for that area. And eventually that developer, that never even came to council, that developer decided to change his mind. And the community rallied and the community spoke to what they wanted. We also, though, as Councilmember Sanchez says, we have a fine line between what a developer presents that is completely legal within the code, which is zoned correctly, which is allowable for that area, and to just say no because people don't like it or it's not in my backyard, that's also not good decision-making from that balance of commercial as well as residential quality of life. And if all of the residents in La Quinta are providing all the sales tax revenue to our sister city in Indio across the street at Ralph's, at that store, that proposed fueling station they have, and all of the retail, that doesn't help us maintain our services, maintain our streets and our quality of life and the value of our homes. So we have to find that balance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Evans. We have increasingly seen city councils across the nation insert themselves into national conversation around social justice, whether it is community policing, affordable housing, or addressing the needs of youth. As a community, how is La Quinta faring when it comes to equitably supporting the needs of our residents? We'll start with Mayor Lynn Evans.
Thank you. This is definitely a hot topic, and it's one that today even brought to light what does it really mean in terms of equity and safe living, and was this politically driven? We don't know the answers to those questions. But I can tell you in La Quinta, one of the beauties of our city and why it was incorporated is because of the diversity that we have and that we've continued to embrace over the years. And I reference over 1,800 affordable housing units that we've built because we want all walks of life and levels of people to be in the city of La Quinta to enjoy the services that we have. We have built amenities for people like outdoor gyms and wellness centers that have a very low cost membership because we believe that everybody should be healthy and have an active lifestyle because a healthy community is a prosperous community regardless of your income or your ethnicity. That we look at our police services and how they do community outreach to all of the neighborhoods in the area, seniors, housing complexes, schools, and build a connection. So I don't see colors per se. I look at people as what makes the fabric of the community whole. And I don't subscribe to hopping on the national bandwagon when we have got an amazing amount of community engagement from students, from volunteers, from commissioners, from people that just want to serve and be part of our family. And that's what makes things special. And we have to just continue to enhance the fact that there's a voice for people because we have an open door policy. And I think that that is evident in how we have been able to somewhat protect ourselves from some of the noise that's happened because it's not a flavor du jour. Some of these issues are very serious, but we also believe that we want to address them equitably because our community is people, because everybody matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Kathleen Fitzpatrick.
Okay, yeah, the hard part of following council members is that we have a lot of the same responses and reactions to the questions. I believe that the reason that La Quinta is as wonderful as it is because we support our community. So supporting our community means that when we hear problems, we listen, we encourage people to come and talk to us at council. We encourage people to talk directly to each one of us individually. I think the benefit of not having council districts perhaps in La Quinta shows up best in these kinds of situations where people bring real concerns that they have to all of us, and we address them in sometimes different ways. We had community members come in after some of the events that have happened across the nation and talk to Council Member Radi and I, and we went and talked to the county supervisor. And as a result of that, the county supervisor is having listening sessions on a number of topics, but including community-based policing. So that's one big issue. I think we listen, we are concerned, and there's no level of caring that goes unmet in the city of La Quinta by the people who serve the residents of La Quinta. On the housing issue, I think that we've been ahead of the curve all along. We've been working toward meeting all of our housing numbers, low and moderate income housing, and we continue to do that. As long as we have money in the housing authority, we moved forward with the Washington Street apartments. We remodeled them and added additional units, and we're moving forward and in escrow on the Dune Palms mobile home park. We're about quality of life, and quality of life means that we need housing for people who live and work here, and we need housing that people who work here can afford to purchase. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Candidate Richard Gray.
Unmute. Very good, thank you. It's extremely interesting comments. I think it's the issue to look at what can be done that would make a difference, especially since so many things seem to be working fairly well to bring people in La Quinta together. Unfortunately, I do think that council districts is a no-brainer because you do not divorce yourself from the rest of the city by the fact that you have people who are behind you, have elected you, and count on you where you are to take care of their issues. It brings those people closer to the city, and it brings you with the other council members and the mayor closer to resolutions of issues. I think that neighborhood watches, the effort to use ring control on the telephones that, the doorbells that have cameras, citizens on patrol that are seen traveling around, because unfortunately in many areas you hardly ever see anybody on patrol. A number of these things might help us all to feel more safe and secure, and to bring police help in as quickly as possible. There are a lot of problems with the issue of the amount of money that's needed for policing, and policing continues to go up. So I think that's an area that should be looked at very closely to see if there's some way of involving more community policing, but reducing some of the costs that are involved. Okay, you can have some time back.
Thank you for your statement. Councilmember Steve Sanchez.
Thank you very much for that opportunity. To carry on a little bit on the housing, La Quinta has been a leader in the Coachella Valley as far as addressing homelessness issues, whether it's partnering with CVAG, Martha's, the Rescue Mission, and as the mayor said, over 1,800 units designated for low and moderate housing. In fact, we even partnered with some market rate apartment complexes to help out with our state mandated numbers to help house a lot of folks who are in need. And going back to design development, we do have low income housing in our city, but to an average person, they wouldn't even know it because the quality and design standards we have in the city, you would never think that the areas where people live are low income. And that's because, just because they're low income doesn't mean that they're not human, and they deserve to have a good place to stay, and if we can help provide that. And the city has been very good at providing those kind of services for seniors and veterans, Washington Street apartments, and as Councilmember Fitzpatrick said, Doom Palms that we're working on. So, that's one of the things that we are working on. Some of the national issues, I'm a La Quinta City Councilman, and I think often politicians around the country act more than what they are. Council members around the country often want to act like they're legislators or, U.S. ambassadors or anything like that. And I am a voice for my residents in La Quinta, and I know where my scope of authority lies, my responsibility lies, and that's with my residents. Everything from, having an open door, our residents are very, we're very approachable to our residents wherever they live. And I don't ever want to deny 40,000 residents from having a voice and picking up, who they want to elect as their mayor or their city council member.
Thank you, Council Member. For this next one, we ask that you finish the sentence. The biggest opportunity and challenge the La Quinta City Council will face over the next 5 years is, fill in the blank. We'll start with Council Member Steve Sanchez.
Am I unmuted? All right. The biggest opportunity and challenge that La Quinta City Council will face over the next 5 years is our Highway 111 corridor. There's a lot of opportunity there to really see the future of shopping and dining, and having people, not just pass through Highway 111, but stop and enjoy Highway 111, and really enjoy La Quinta, right? I mean, we're not the gem of the desert for nothing. We really are the gem of the desert, and that is the greatest opportunity as far as revenue for the city. And again, it goes back to repurposing a lot of these buildings, allowing businesses to modify some of the way they use their property, right? Allow them to have a little more flexibility, whether it's signage, whether it's doing road diets, whether it's, allowing for, golf carts and bicycles and runners and all of those things that attract people to the city. Our biggest opportunity is there. Another opportunity we have is in public safety. The cost of public safety does go up. We are a contract city, so there are a lot of things we don't have a say in. Some of the things we do have a say in as far as what type of policing, what type of positions are available. But I think we have an opportunity to not just work with our sheriff's department, but also our neighboring cities in Indian Wells and Palm Desert, and possibly share a lot of resources to cut down on the budget. But still, here's the important part, keeping the quality of police services that our residents expect, as we saw today from our law enforcement family that acted very quickly and responsibly.
Thank you, Council Member. Mayor Linda Evans, would you like to finish that statement for us?
Absolutely, and it's not just one thing over the next 5 years. I think we've touched on several. As Councilmember Sanchez says, it's the Highway 111 corridor plan, it's CV Link and that connectivity. It's Silver Rock, where the Montage and Pendry hotels, and also some rentable development, homes, retail, commercial. It's the ability to be able to balance the cost of police and fire services, still maintain those service levels to keep low crime rates and good response times, and not consume so much of our budget. It's being able to continue to foster the redefined city government that we've helped create within our staff, in terms of looking at innovative ways and allowing them and empowering them to bring solutions to the table for different ways of doing things. It's the continued investment in our city technology, so that we can allow to do things online. That was one of the fastest adjustments we were able to make with COVID when people went remote, is that so much of our business can be conducted online that there wasn't a blip in the system. We are busier than ever, and even more busy to a certain degree. So there's a lot of exciting things, and I'm excited to continue to serve as your mayor. Again, it's a valued input from all the residents. I do want to announce that if you haven't heard, the grocery outlet is going in the former Rouse in Kai Tampico. There will be an announcement of another component there that's not quite ready to be announced yet. We've got Dutch Brothers is actually the first one that's going to be coming to the Valley, and we helped into the site. The Residence Inn is coming along, and our State of the City is on October 15th from 10:30 to 12, and that will give you an update from all of the city council members, because I know that Council Member Ratty is listening, and Mayor Pro Tem John Pena is also listening. We've got a group of staff. I'm seeing commissioners on our list. I'm seeing realtors on our list. I'm seeing economic development teams on our list. I'm seeing Convention Visitors Bureau teams on this list of people who have tuned in. And it's just an honor to continue to contribute La Quinta to the rest of the economy. So the 5-year plan is to continue the momentum. We've got an amazing group. When you make a vote, it's 1 vote per person. So if you're only allowed to represent a small district, you still need to build consensus. And this is what this council's been able to do. We may not always get along, but we agree because it's about the residents of our city, and I love them. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Evans. Councilmember Kathleen Fitzpatrick.
Okay, so biggest opportunity, obviously, Highway 111 corridor and the village area, looking at both of those for development that is new and exciting and just brings in a lot of economic development, as well as fosters that community feeling that the mayor was talking about. I think that would be probably one of the bigger improvements on Highway 111 as well, where people feel like they can move into the environment and have it be user friendly, as opposed to driving into a parking lot and walking to the front door of a building. So I think that that's our biggest opportunity. And probably getting Silver Rock up and running is one of our best opportunities too. We're looking forward to that. I think it will reevaluate and reimagine what the East Valley looks like to have a montage open up in La Quinta. I think we've got some very big goals for future economic development, and I think we can meet those goals. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about being part of a team who just always has a can-do attitude. We can get into some pretty heavy discussions, and we don't always agree on everything, but we generally come to consensus without any bloodletting. And I think that's really important, because it makes us a dynamic group with ideas that are people look at us across the valley, and the first thing they say is they want to emulate La Quinta. Well, they want to emulate La Quinta because we have good leadership, and I want to be part of that leadership team going forward. So I look at that as an opportunity and a challenge, and I'm excited to continue on the city council, and I certainly, hope for your votes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Candidate Gray.
Yes, thank you. What I think is challenges from 5 years from now, one of the first things that I think about is Salton Sea, and the fact that Trilogy and some of the southern part of our city is going to be affected relatively soon if Salton Sea continues to dry up and continues to have problems with dust that's going to blow and contaminate part of our city. This is something, even though it's outside our city boundaries, we should have a voice, and we should be trying to push forward with that. I think that the 111 corridor certainly should solve itself within the next 3-4 years, or we're going to have very, very serious problems. So yes, I agree, 111 corridor, all of the commerce in La Quinta has to be assisted and helped with. As a matter of fact, if they're going to put a gasoline station, maybe we should think about the fact that in 15 years, we can't buy more gasoline cars, according to our governor. And so there would be enough or even more charging stations. And the problem with that, of course, is where, how many, and how to finance it. The rest of the issue, I think a little bit about the possibility of annexation, if we need to have some areas that would help us have more area for continued development. I do believe that council districts and term limits will help make our city and our participation rate between citizens and city governance much more active. We have to remember that most of the staff is on permanently. We as council members, as mayor, we're the ones that come in representing the city residents and trying to make sure through oversight and through some kind of planning that the people who are on staff all the time are going to be continuing to go ahead with what is the best for the city. I also hope that we will have votes on some big projects such as CV Link to be able to make sure that during the campaign, all of the facts will come forward. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Gray. Well, I'll tell you, we did so well on our time that I think what we'll do is maybe give you all the opportunity for some closing remarks. And because that was unplanned, why don't we just go ahead and duplicate the same order that we had for this last go around. So we'll start with candidate Steve Sanchez. Maybe some closing remarks for the group? I'm sorry, Councilor Sanchez.
What do I have, like a minute or what?
Sure, same timing, it's fine.
Okay, sorry. Well, you know, I'll tell you what, I love being a Quinta City Councilman. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of work, a lot of reading that goes involved. There's a lot of community meetings, community events, and then there's my work life and my personal life. It's a matter of finding a fine balance between all of them. And my dogs, right? I love my two dogs, and I got to find time for them. But over the last 4 years, you know, it's been an honor to really represent the residents of La Quinta, and I hope and I ask the residents of La Quinta to allow me the opportunity for 4 more years to continue to represent them. I mean, La Quinta is a beautiful city. It's one of the safest cities in the state. It's a prosperous city. There's a lot of development in the works. There are a lot of capital improvement projects in the works. There's a lot happening in the city, and people want to be here. And it takes good leadership to ensure that the city moves in the right direction. It continues to move in the direction that it's moving in now. And really, you know, just be a voice for our residents. And, you know, when I say I have a good time, I really do have a good time. You should want to love what you do. And I love doing what I do in my professional life, and I love being a city council member. And I think my record over the last 4 years has proven itself. I think I've proven myself to the residents that I hope that I would be able to earn their vote again, all 40,000 of our residents, because it's important that they all have a say in the governance and how the city is governed. And it would be an honor, and I'm asking all of my residents to re-elect me for 4 more years to continue to be their voice at City Hall on the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Mayor Linda Evans, would you like to offer some closing remarks?
Yes, thank you. And I just want to say I apologize for the short exit. I was getting an update from the city manager on today's occurrences and have been responding to a couple of news media texts as well for follow-up interviews. And I want to say thank you to some business owners and residents and friends that have reached out during this candidate forum just to text to make sure our city staff and our council and everybody is okay. So this is a nonstop job. It's 24/7. I work full-time for Desert Care Network. I'm proud of that role, but it's also been able to provide me with the ability to be valley-wide and think regionally. I chair the Joint Powers Authority for the Convention Visitors Bureau. Tourism and hospitality is huge in our community. Regarding the Salton Sea, I'm on the Energy and Environmental Resources Committee, and I chair that. I also chair the Conservation Commission. So when we look at preserving our natural environment and planning that with the development and protecting our bighorn sheep, I mean, we are all in on this. This is not just about the 40,000 residents, but we're as strong as our weakest link valley-wide. And I like to think of myself, especially during COVID, as an advocate to ensure that we've got the right framework to follow the safety guidelines to move forward and make sure we have economic development while protecting our workers and our residents and our visitors. And, you know, it takes a village. And I've said that many, many times, that I may be the mayor of the city of La Quinta because I'm representing the 40,000 people that chose me to represent them. I'm also a listener. I'm also an action-oriented person. I'm a doer. And anybody that either has met me up at the top of the trail at 5 a.m., because I know there's 4 of you tomorrow that will be there with me, or the ones that are talking to me late at night, whether it's all the way across the valley or it's people through emails or phone calls. You know, you have to be all in. This is hard work, but I love it. And I may make it look easy sometimes. That's because I feel like I'm surrounded by people who share their opinion, whether I agree with it or not. It's part of the collective voice that we have to serve. So I'm at lindaformayor.org. I would love you to help celebrate La Quinta yet again by having me be your mayor. And I'm just so honored to be part of this entire family and community. So thank you to the Chamber of Commerce again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councilmember Kathleen Fitzpatrick.
Yes, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve you for the last 4 years. Like Linda and Steve, this is a full-time job for me. I'm fortunate that I'm retired. I'm the only one on council currently that is completely retired. So the rest of them are doing 2 jobs. I'm only doing 1, but it's a full-time job, and I love it. I don't, as Linda said, you don't do this unless you love it, because you're constantly on, you're constantly being challenged, and you're constantly learning. And those are things that are exciting to me. I want to stay here to help us meet some of the challenges that we have coming forward. Like Linda, I serve on the Coachella Valley Mountains Conservancy and the Conservation Commission. So I too am involved in the environment and know definitely what projects are happening at Salton Sea, what need to happen, and agree with you. It's a serious issue. It's going to affect our economy if we don't take care of it. So that's very important to me. I have a lot of these things more fully outlined on my website, fitzpatrickforlq.com. You can go there, you can visit my Facebook page, and I'm always available for an email. I have a specific email just for the election, fitzpatrickforlq@gmail.com. Send me an email, I'll answer it. I answer every email I get. And I like to keep in contact with the people that I'm working for, and I am working for you as a city council member. And I appreciate the chamber for allowing us this opportunity to introduce ourselves to those people who don't know us, and certainly reconnect with some of the people who supported us last time. And I'm hoping for their support again this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. Candidate Richard Gray.
Unmute, okay. Can you hear me? I hope so. Yes, this is a good opportunity, I think, for us to take an overview. Part of the problem is that in a private business, even in a public corporation, profit, sales, performance is a way of being able to objectively measure how well you're doing. When we're in government like this, everybody thinks that we're doing very, very well. But what we're looking at is not the past. You don't get elected or reelected because of what you did in the past, but because of your vision for the future, your ideas, and the fact that every so often it is good to get new people in. We have a real problem when we have an election and there's only just 1 or 2, in this particular case, candidates besides the people that are in office. Maybe it is that you're all doing such a fantastic job, and I think that could be, but it doesn't mean that new people couldn't also do a fantastic job with more points of view, with perhaps more openness and more participation. For example, I think almost all of you guys live South La Quinta. That's fine. You can be a representative for La Quinta and live in any part of the city, but it is part of the reason why councilor districts is a no-brainer, and it's part of the reason why term limits in the long run will help us have a civilian governance while we have permanent staff. Okay, you can take the time back.
Thank you. Thank you all for your comments and willingness to spend some time with us tonight to share your positions. A reminder that tonight's event will be available for replay at NBCPalmSprings.com as soon as it is posted. Once again, thank you to all of our candidates in our audience, and a reminder from the La Quinta Chamber of Commerce to everyone, please vote. Good night.